What is the Bible? It sounds like a stupid question. We all know what the Bible is. It's a book, a big, holy book, usually with a black cover, that a lot of people own but not so many people read. The Bible is the book, the big daddy of all books, in fact. The very first book ever printed was a Bible by Gutenberg in 1492. It's the best-selling book of all time. But the Bible is not really a book. It's a collection, a library, a bookshelf of different books, 66 of them, all brought together in one volume. Most of the other holy books of the world were written by one religious genius or guru. Think of Muhammad and the Quran. But the Bible was written not at one time by one man, but over a period of 1,500 years by around 40 different authors. What's more, among the 66 books, there are all sorts of different kinds of writing. There's history, poetry, hymns, love songs, sermons, prophecies, parables, riddles, letters, and more. It's no wonder then that people can find the Bible a bit daunting, especially at first. Imagine if I put together a little collection of reading for you. Say I started with Confessions by St. Augustine, a history of the Reformation, then the complete works of William Shakespeare, followed by Paradise Lost by John Milton, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, Volume 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien, and just to finish it off, the complete lyrics of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. And what if I said to you, how about you just randomly read a little bit every day and see what you get out of it? The sheer variety and breadth of the Bible can be daunting. And one of the aims of this course is to help you get more familiar with how the Bible is put together and how all its different bits relate to each other. Let's start with some basic facts. We all know that the Bible is divided into the Old and New Testaments, with 39 books in the Old Testament and 27 in the New. The Old Testament is written in Hebrew, except for a few chapters in Daniel that are in Aramaic. And the New Testament, it's written in Greek, the kind of Greek used by everyday people in the time of Jesus. There are other important groupings within the Bible apart from the Old and New Testaments. The Jews, for example, thought of the Old Testament as having three subsections or categories. There's the law, the prophets, and the writings. And in our English Bibles, English Old Testaments, these three kinds of books are also grouped together with just one or two exceptions. The law, or Torah, is the first 5 books from Genesis through to Deuteronomy. And these are like a foundation for the whole story, in which God creates the world and makes a covenant with a particular man, with Abraham, who is the father of a particular nation, that's Israel. We then have a group of historical books in the Old Testament that tell the unfolding story of Israel, from Joshua through to 2 Kings. And these books were part of what the Jews called the prophets, the former prophets, in fact. This is because they were no ordinary history, just a record of what happened. They told a prophetic history, a history where God's word or promise determined what happened. Then there are the writings, starting with Chronicles, going through to Song of Songs. Some of these books, like Chronicles or Nehemiah, are historical, giving a different angle on the history of Israel and telling us what happened in the latter stages of Israel's history. Others are lyrical or poetic, like the Psalms, and others are what is known as wisdom literature, like Ecclesiastes or Proverbs. Finally, in our English Old Testaments, there are more examples of what the Jews called the prophets. This time, the latter prophets, like Isaiah, Jeremiah, and all the others down to the 12 shorter prophetic books, like Obadiah and Hosea and Malachi. In these books, God's word is delivered to Israel in the midst of her turbulent history, warning her to turn back to the Lord and promising that God would eventually restore and save her. The New Testament also has some groupings within it, and they are a bit like the Old Testament ones when you think about it. There are the 4 Gospels, the foundational books that establish the new covenant between God and his people through Jesus Christ. And this is a covenant not just with one nation, but with people from all the nations of the world. Then there's the book of Acts, which shows that covenant starting to spread in history throughout the nations. And then there are the epistles, which is just a fancy word for letters. The epistles reveal God's word to the people of the new covenant as they meet together in churches across the ancient world. And of course, the New Testament finishes with the book of Revelation, which is not a letter or a history or a poem or a parable. It's kind of like a mixture of all of them, which is why Christians often get confused by it. So the Bible is a varied book. It's a bookshelf of books with many different kinds of writings by many different authors. But that's only half the story. The passages you're about to study will introduce you to the other half of the story.